Avatar: The Last Airbender is now streaming on Netflix. As you jump back in for your binge watch, here are our picks for the 15 best episodes to look out for in the entire series. When Avatar: The Last Airbender premiered 15 years ago, no one could have predicted how this animated show aimed at kids would become one of the greatest animated series of all time. The show explored complex themes such as genocide and imperialism, as well as more abstract questions of fate and destiny, while giving us a world full of rich and vast mythology and a lot of stunning action on par with big-budget live-action films. Here are the 15 best episodes of Avatar: The Last Airbender you can stream right now on Netflix. While it's definitely one of the lightest episodes on this list, there's no denying the lighthearted nature of The Last Airbender was a large part of its appeal. The King of Omashu presents a nice twist, with the seemingly insane ruler of an intimidating new town turning out to be Bumi, a very old friend of Aang's, and someone who has the Avatar's best interests at heart. The episode is ripe with humor, and the unconventional tests of Bumi were a blast to watch. I genuinely still quote the "let us leave" pun to this day.
You can't keep us here. Let us leave.
Let us leave?
This is the episode where Avatar went from a good but goofy kids show with broad humor to a fantasy epic with full-fleshed characters. The episode deals with our characters stuck in the middle of a storm, so they decide to tell some stories, resulting in the first time we see the backstory of our hero, Aang, and our villain, Zuko. In a single episode, The Last Airbender makes Aang a flawed and more relatable character who isn't above running away from responsibility because he'd rather play with his friends. Likewise, we discover that the moody, annoying villain Zuko is a tragic victim of tradition and abuse, exiled from his home and sent off on an impossible mission because he dared speak out of turn. This was a pivotal moment that made it clear we were seeing more than broad archetypes, and it set Zuko on a path to become one of the best characters in modern fiction. In the early days of Avatar, it was easy to separate the good guys from the bad. Aang found himself partnered up with Sokka and Katara, both of whom donned blue and came from the Southern Water Tribe, an element associated with tranquility. Zuko, on the other hand, came from the Fire Nation and tried to capture them. He wore red, exemplifying power and rage. It wasn't until Aang is captured by the Fire Nation and then freed by the Blue Spirit, revealed to be Prince Zuko in disguise, that he realizes there's more to him than he thought. It ends with Aang telling Zuko about his friend Kuzan from the Fire Nation before he became trapped in the iceberg, asking if Zuko had been alive back then, if they might have been friends too. It was the first tease very early on that Zuko might join Team Avatar. Avatar: The Last Airbender sure knew how to end a season on a high note, as shown by Season 1's The Siege of the North Part 2. We saw Aang wipe out an entire Fire Nation fleet by turning into a big glowing water monster and sending out a massive tsunami. Sokka's girlfriend turned into the moon, we got to see some beautiful animation of fire lighting up a world turned black and white, but more than any of that, we were introduced to one of the most terrifying creatures of all time, Ko, the Face Stealer, when Aang visits the spirit world. We only see Ko once more throughout the series, but boy, did he know how to make an introduction. Pro wrestling comes to the Avatar universe. When Aang needs an earthbending teacher, the team goes to what is essentially a WWE match where they meet the titular Blind Bandit, a 12-year-old blind girl who is exceptionally good at fighting and trash-talking. The addition of Toph instantly plays off with a hilarious change to the group dynamic as the Earthbender rages at everyone and takes no crap from anyone. Plus, watching such a good fighter turn out to be a spoiled girl from a wealthy and overprotective family that treats her as helpless and fragile makes for an entertaining introduction. Avatar's strength wasn't only in its dynamic fight scenes, but in its character-driven episodes, and this is one of the best ones. Where some villains get redeemed by doing just one good action and then dying, Zuko's path to redemption was long, arduous, and very awkward. Zuko's journey begins in this neo-western episode where the exiled Fire Nation prince tries to protect a young Earth Kingdom boy and his family from local soldiers bullying them. No matter how much Zuko helps them, when he reveals his identity, he is instantly rejected by the family he saved. From here on out, Zuko starts trying to carve an identity out for himself that's separate from his legacy and background. The Tales of Ba Sing Se is an anthology episode with something for everyone. There's Sokka entering a haiku rap battle, Katara and Toph having a girls' day out, and Zuko going on a date. Even Momo gets his own little story, but the episode is mostly remembered for the heart-wrenching Tale of Iroh segment. Despite his past as an honored military leader, Uncle Iroh served as kind of the Mr. Rogers of Avatar, an extremely kind man who saw the worth in every life and culture. The episode encapsulates his character in just a few minutes as we see Iroh going around Ba Sing Se, helping everyone he meets, including a mugger. Then we see Iroh travel to the top of a hill at sunset and making a shrine to his late son, Lu Ten, before he breaks down while singing a song for his son's birthday. The song itself is enough to pull at your heartstrings, but the final dedication to Mako, Iroh's original voice actor, who passed away before the series ended, makes this a guaranteed tearjerker and proof of the show's ability to craft a powerful story in a short amount of time. One of the major plot points of Season 2 of the show was Aang's Sky Bison Appa getting captured. This led to a major subplot in the series and a rare moment of Aang succumbing to anger. This episode tells us what happened to the giant six-legged bison during his time away, and it's devastating. We follow Appa on a trip of animal abuse as he's sold to his circus led by a sadistic ringleader, then gets involved in a fight with a wild animal and even encounters the Kyoshi warriors before getting captured once again. Though it barely features any of our main characters, it's an emotionally charged episode that shows us a baby Appa melting your heart when he meets Aang for the first time, and that alone makes this one of the best episodes of the show. The Empire Strikes Back of Avatar episodes, this was the show's darkest hour. Aang gets a vision that his friends are in danger and leaves his training to help them. But it turns out to be a trap set up by the villain. The Earth Kingdom's capital is finally conquered by the Fire Nation, Zuko betrays his uncle and joins Azula in fighting Team Avatar. Oh, and Aang almost dies. What a dark way to end your season. And in addition to the good guys losing miserably, we also get some hints of future team-ups and Azula turning into Cersei Lannister, mad with power. This is also one of the most climactic final showdowns in the entire show, where we get to see some pretty cool attacks like armor made of crystals, dragon-like fire breathing, and lots of lightning. If there's one thing that Avatar: The Last Airbender did better than its cartoon contemporaries, and even better than most other shows or movies in general, was humanizing its villains, and no other episode encapsulates that better than The Beach. In this Breakfast Club-esque episode, we get to see what the characters on the Team Azula side of things are like when they're not actively trying to kill everyone who gets in their way. While learning about Mai's past and why she's so guarded all the time, or why Ty Lee is so naturally outgoing is intriguing, what really provides this episode its depth above others is discovering more about Azula's relationship with her mother, and why she's become so driven to be as sadistic as possible. It's the first time in the series we see her show any kind of insecurity, especially when it's juxtaposed in the face of something as simple as talking to a cute guy. This episode is a great reminder that while we may have up until this point only seen these characters as dastardly and dangerous, at the end of the day, they're still just teenagers trying to figure out their place in the world. Like Watchmen, Avatar felt like the sequel to a story that was never published, in a good way. Aang's quest is to end a 100-year-old war that began with his predecessor, Avatar Roku, and the show took great pleasure in exploring the history of its world to both provide information and teach lessons. So when we finally see the origins of the war told through the tragedy of Roku's friendship with Firelord Sozin, audiences were in for a treat. What followed was an engrossing episode that showed how the Fire Nation became the villains of the story and how a powerful friendship was corrupted. We also discovered the truth of Zuko's ancestry and learned the lesson that any person is capable of both incredible good and evil, and it's up to us to find a balance. The one and only time Avatar goes full horror movie, this episode is not only spooky, but also deeply tragic. While at a Fire Nation town, the gang hears rumors of local people disappearing each full moon. They also meet a nice, yet creepy old waterbender named Hama, who takes Katara under her wing. In a truly horrific turn, we discover Hama comes from Katara's tribe, but was held captive by the Fire Nation and tortured for years. She escaped only when she developed the skill of bloodbending, meaning she's able to control the water inside people and bend them to her will, and has been imprisoning Fire Nation citizens in the mountain every full moon. Besides the use of spooky music and lighting to craft a horror atmosphere, the episode added to the show's mythos by showing us that there are different types of monsters out there in the world. Over the course of the series, we witness Aang's journey from a fun-loving, goofy kid reluctant to take on any responsibility to Avatar set on bringing balance to the world. We saw Katara, steadfast in her desire for revenge and just beginning her waterbending proficiency, quickly turning into a master all her own of both ability and emotion. But many of us slept on Sokka's growth as a strategist and leader, and we finally see his potential come full circle when he plans an attack on the Firelord on the day of the Black Sun all by himself. Utilizing both the bending and technology from friends they made along the way, Sokka blueprints a f***ing submarine, which they use to sneak into a Fire Nation base. The clip episode is a staple of TV, so it came as no surprise that Avatar would have one, but thankfully this is not most shows. Instead of simply reusing old clips to save on budget, the show gave us a recap of the entire show in the form of a fictional play recounting our heroes' adventures. The Ember Island players pokes fun at everything from the dropped or unexplained plot points, like Jet's death, to the characters' more annoying traits, like a constantly sobbing Katara and Sokka's obsession with food, to even the show's fandom itself, via reference to the most popular ship in the show. It may feel weird to have this wacky, time-wasting nonsense, to quote Sokka, right before the explosive finale, but it's so well executed and well written that it serves as a nice breather. So I know this is also kind of cheating like the two-parter from season 3, but the finale is not only one of the best endings to a TV show ever, but has some of the best moments ever committed to animation. We get philosophical discussions with past avatars about when it is just to kill someone, reunions with old friends, much-needed moments of levity, like Sokka tricking his ship's crew to head into a trap with the promise of a birthday party.
So, do you know whose birthday it is?
I can't believe the captain remembered my birthday! He really does care!
And also the fight scenes. Avatar has some of the best fight scenes in Western animation, and this finally shows the best of what the show can offer. There's the grander scale battle to reclaim Ba Sing Se, with dozens of fighters and vehicles, and Sokka and Toph taking down an entire fleet of airships. Then there's Zuko fighting Azula in what can only be described with a chef's kiss, and the final showdown between Aang and the Firelord, a nearly 14-minute fight where every element gets used to devastating effect. Everything in this episode is running on all cylinders, and the use of a live orchestra makes this feel like a grand cinematic event. These were just some of our favorite episodes here at GameSpot Universe, but what are yours, and how excited are you to have a chance to rewatch Avatar now that it's back on Netflix? Let us know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.